Hello, my friends. Isn't it nice and refreshing to see an old head who used to play in the NBA be praiseworthy for once of the current NBA product and the game today, and especially today's players? I mean, it seems like far too often we see guys like Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley and all these other old heads talking down on today's players. Oh, well, today's players are soft. They couldn't hang it in the 80s or in the 90s or even the early 2000s with tougher, where you could play defense and all of that jazz. You guys know the narratives. I don't have to explain it to you. Well, it turns out Kevin Garnett, of all people, KG of all people, who was in his heyday the ultimate trash talker, the ultimate tough guy. I say fake tough guy. Listen, I make no qualms about it. I was never a KG fan. Although I respected his game, was never a KG fan. So this is the last person I expected to be complimentary of today's players. He was asked what his take on the current state of the NBA game is. He says the game is at another level. I want you to get on the court, sprint corner to corner, stop on a dime, and shoot a three. Now I want you to do 10 of those. Then I want you to focus on how tired you are, because these guys do it for 48 minutes. I don't think guys from 20 years ago could play in this game. 20 years ago, guys used their hands to control players. Hand checking. Now you can't use your hands. That makes defense damn near impossible. Can you imagine not hand checking Michael Jordan? Holy moly. If Michael Jordan played in this era with no hand checking, imagine how dominant he would be. The fact that you can't touch players gives the offensive players so much flexibility. Defensive players have to take angles away and stuff like that. Sure, yeah, you got to be way more creative and careful as a defensive player. And I feel like in today's game, it's kind of hard to be a defensive player because it's just there's so many rules going against you, and there's so many players that are taking advantage of the referees and taking advantage of the fact that you can't hand check, and they're baiting for foul calls. James Harden, Trae Young. But at the same time, yeah, it makes defense harder, but also more competitive, I think. But if you have any creativity and ambition, you can be a great offensive player in this league. The fadeaways, the one-legged runners, one-leg balance shots, that's stuff that Dirk brought to our game. And Steph Curry revolutionized things, Klay Thompson, Dame Lillard. These guards changed the game. Key sentence here, I don't know if even the guards from 20 or 30 years ago could play in this time here, right here. Now, that's a bold statement, and I'll get into it in a bit here. It's creative, it's competitive, it's saucy. You'll get dropped a bleep. You can imagine what word he put in there. Use your imagination. Will cross you over and break your ACL these days. The game is in a great place. Now, start with this statement right over here. I agree. The game is indeed in a great place. Are there things I don't like about it? Yes, the things I don't like about it are the referees and how soft they are. I just mentioned how I hate foul baiting, and it's more obvious than ever has been. Those are two things I don't like. But overall, I feel like the overall level of play and the skill of all these players collectively is way better than it has ever been. All these players are faster, they're better ball handlers, better shooters. Right now, in today's NBA, if you are a 7-footer, a center, who cannot stretch the floor, your team is most likely not going to win a championship. Look at all the past champions, okay? They had death lineups. They had lineups with bigs who can shoot. So you got better shooters, better ball handlers, better athletes. I mean, just look at this. Look at the dunks, right? The dunks that, let's say, Hamidou Diallo pulled off in the dunk contest from, what was it, a year or two ago? That would have blown people's minds if he was back in the 80s and he was doing that stuff. Like, that would have been insane. So overall, the guards, or the players overall, are more skilled, I think. With the exception of maybe post players. I think the art of playing in a post is a bit dead. Not dead, but there's only very few people in the league that actually take advantage of it. But overall, I think the game is indeed in a great place. It's exciting. It's fast-paced. I mean, I do love seeing defense. So, I mean, some of the games, especially Nets games, for various reasons, but for the reasons of defense, I hate seeing people just have constant defensive lapses. That's one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to watching NBA games. I disagree with saying that guards from 20 or 30 years ago could play in this time right here. I mean, I fully disagree. First of all, I disagree with both sides. I disagree with people who say that if you put LeBron James in the 80s or 90s, he wouldn't be as great as he was, or Steph Curry wouldn't be as great as he was. Listen, all of these players adapted to their current situation. If you brought up Steph Curry or let's say Russell Westbrook in the previous eras, previous decades, you don't think that they would adapt to how the game is played? You don't think that they would adapt and be tougher, be mentally tougher, how they would play their games differently? If you are a great player. I can't think of a single great player in any era that would have been trash in this era. Like even Bob Cousy, I'm sure Bob Cousy would have worked hard enough to hack it in this era. Same with guys like in this era. So I disagree with that. I think people would adapt. Michael Jordan would not be any less great played in this era. Average more points probably, but he would still be the GOAT. And I don't think that Steph Curry wouldn't be able to adapt to the game, a more physical game, 20 or 30 years ago. But overall, it's great to see Kevin Garnett come out and defend all of these players nowadays, because it's all too rare. Like I said, you see guys downplaying the game too much, and it gets annoying. If you hate watching the game so much, don't talk about the game. Don't discuss the game. Just move on and do something else. Lo and behold, that's what we have right now. That's just my opinion, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you guys agree with KG? Is the game better than it has ever been? Are players better than they have ever been overall? Or do you prefer the old school style? Listen, I also prefer old school style, but I'm not going to lie and say that there aren't great players these days and that there aren't entertaining players these days. The game is fun, man. The game is really fun. It's exciting, fast-paced, and listen, I love the NBA, and I'm sure you guys do too. All right, take it easy, guys. Catch you in the next video. Peace.